Hey good people, how y'all doing? Welcome back, Love Marriage Huntsville fans. It's time for another juicy recap of Carlos King's Shadiest Show, Season 6, Episode 18. Let's jump right into it. Let's start with Keke. Keke wants to find out what's going on with her health. She's been having some health challenges, finding herself going to the emergency room and missing a lot of the events, such as Tiffanys' son's Sip and Reveal. So she's in the kitchen talking to her husband. I have to give him the Best Husband on the Show award because I honestly feel like he showed a lot of concern as it relates to Keke and everything that's going on in her life right now. When they're sitting down, well, she's sitting down and he's cooking, having a discussion about everything that's going on with her. He feels like it may be the methadone that she's on. Methadone is a substance, it's a drug that is used to help people with certain illnesses as well as to help addicts kind of get off of the drugs that they're on. I find it to be weird that you're using a drug to get rid of a drug, but when I read about what it is, it's kind of understandable, but then it's like, well, is that a good thing for her to stay on? I feel as if Keke does not want to let go of methadone. Did anybody get that feeling as you're watching these two in the kitchen? Because he's telling her, I think that this is the issue, and she's saying, well, you don't know everything, kind of making him feel like, no, that's not the issue. It could be something else. And she's not even really trying to consider that perhaps methadone is the problem, which who knows if it is or if it isn't. But I don't think he's wrong for suggesting that maybe she should look a little bit further into that. She does say in her confessional that her husband doesn't want her to be on any substances. And I don't know any husband or anybody that cares for someone that would want their loved one to be on any type of substance, whether it's addictive or not, because you just don't know long term the effect that these drugs have on your body. And obviously we know that Keke's has some issues in the past, so I'm pretty sure that that's a big part of everything for him as well. Let's not forget, guys, these two, they have children together, so I don't think he's just trying to rule over his wife or anything like that. I think that he's honestly concerned about her. And it is a little shocking to me that she's not equally as concerned as it relates to this potentially being a part of the problem as it relates to her health. He also mentions, and this is the first time to me that they've really acknowledged that was Keke allegedly in the Home Depot, when everything went down. He says it's been a lot on me, a lot of back and forth. Every time he turns around, there's things happening back to back to back. So to me, that was an acknowledgement, like I said, that indeed allegedly was her in Home Depot. So now let's jump to Tiffanys' party because a lot went down there. In the Black church, when you go to church and they're inside the sanctuary praying, so you kind of have to stay in the vestibule area. That's what Tisha looked like in the back of the event for Tiffanys' son. It looked like she was waiting for the ushers to open up the doors of the church so that she can go in and take her seat when the pastor was up there reading a scripture. I don't know why that made me laugh and why I'm still laughing about it, but the church girl in me was like, oh my God, you remind me of church right now. I thought that was hilarious. Kimmi mentioning the ladies discussing the expo and rehashing the whole thing after she already was informed about how everybody felt prior to Tisha getting there, to me was messy. And it read, I really don't like you, Tisha, and I want to see these women come after you. Even though Kimmi tries to say later on, I don't want you to feel like everybody's coming after you, then why would you even bring that up? Because that's exactly what these women were waiting to do. I also find it very interesting, you guys, that after 6 seasons on the show, Tisha is not really able to handle the criticism of other people. Did y'all find that strange? As these women are going at her and just questioning her about the expo, she's ready to get up and walk away, to the point where Stormi had to go chase after her like, no, you need to come back to the table. And Stormi says in her confessional that Tisha needs to just face what's happening so that they can come across some type of resolve. And I totally agree with that. If you keep running away from your problems, every time you look up, these girls are going to keep coming at you. So you might as well address it and move on. I also have to agree with Nell that Tisha definitely had an attitude when she was talking to her And personally, I'm not really sure why. I guess you can say it's because Tisha felt attacked from everybody else, which, okay, I'll give her that. But she just, to me, seemed like she had an attitude with Nell as soon as she took her seat and Nell started asking certain things. And I just think that that's unfortunate because they're two Black women, successful Black women in Huntsville that could probably do a lot together in the business aspects. So to see them starting off like this, I don't really like it, especially how we saw them with their spouses in last week's episode. Everything was copacetic. So they're going to need to kind of, I guess, work on their relationship if there's anything to really work on. Now, with that being said, I do feel like when Nell told Stormi that Stormi has a mouth of her own because she felt as if Tisha was ignoring her, that was Nell coming out of pocket a little bit and being a little bit messy as well. I know a lot of the fans on the show feel like Nell is really messy. She can be. I definitely have seen that she has the messy trait. I think that she's trying to cement herself on the show. I don't think this is her normal disposition. I do also believe that she's still pretty upset with Tisha and Marsau, or feels some type of way about them obviously not inviting her and her husband to the Black Expo. Did y'all see Tiffany had no issue saying what went down when Stormi was reluctant to answer Nell's question? She just went on and on about the money, the $100, and I was like, here goes messy Tiffany doing what she does best. Now, Kimmi suggesting a town hall meeting about the expo was not a bad idea. I'm not surprised that Tisha said in her confessional she's going to have to run that by Marsau. It seems like to me, especially as you see these women kind of jump on Tisha a little bit, that if Marsau is not there to help her, she doesn't know what to do with herself. It's almost as if Tisha doesn't have a mind of her own. And in that moment, I feel like, and then there's actually a couple of moments, but this was one of the moments when I felt like, yeah, girl, it's like you don't have a mind for yourself. And I say that also because Stormi sat there not just once, but a couple of times berating Marsau, in my opinion. She called him a woman, and then even worse, she went on to call him a bitch, which in my opinion is totally unacceptable. I'll be doggone to sit at a table and allow another female to call my husband a female or any name outside of his name. Like how Tisha sat there and was just like kind of laughed it off and brushed it off is beyond me. I don't comprehend that, but if that's what works for her, that's what works for her. Melody jumps in and lets Tisha know that she's going to have to talk to Marsau because she does not want the comments that he said about her to affect her relationship with Tisha and how she's going to move forward with Tisha, because Mel is going to bring it to Marsau pretty much. So she wants Tisha to know, I don't want that to affect us, but if he's talking about me, I'm going to have a reaction and say something to him. Tisha, once again, she just sits there and is like, okay, yeah, I don't want to fight Marsau's battles, kind of like, and I'm just like, girl, you should never be okay with another woman sitting down with your husband one-on-one without you being there discussing something like that. I would want to be there with my husband just in case things go left. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like if you had another person there, it kind of does away with the he said, she said stuff. In the next scene, Kimmi and Maurice are getting a new space for their business. His brother Micah is the project manager. He's doing all of the work inside of it. And are you guys surprised that the office space is about a month behind? And even the new deadline that they provided, it looks like he's not going to have the work done by that date either. Personally, I am not. Kimmi tells Maurice that Nell says that Marsau said no one paid them and that they basically paid for the whole event, which they're talking about the Black Expo. I found it interesting that Kimmi reiterates to Maurice that they were initially under the impression that they would not have to pay anything, and then Maurice later told her that he actually gave Marsau $100 when Marsau mentioned something about paying the sponsors. So that just lets you know that Stormi was not lying when she said that was the first time she heard about the $100. I personally feel like a lot of this could have been avoided if Marsau and Tisha would have just told them, this is what we need from you up front. I don't know when the decision was to start charging $100, but if you're going to do that, the proper way to do it is to tell the person beforehand. I don't think Stormi has any issue with paying $100. I just don't. I think it was in poor taste what Marsau, and I have to say Tisha, because she is linked to her husband, did. Now, in Tisha's defense, we already know she did try to tell Marsau this is not the time, don't do it, but he did what he wanted to do because that's what he does. Miss Nell and Melody get together at Miss Nell's daycare. And the biggest takeaway from this meeting between these two was the revelation that perhaps Tisha is just the face of the company that she shares with Marsau. Tisha owns 85%. She wasn't kicked out of the company, but she was kicked out of the office. If she was kicked out of the company, y'all let me know. I don't think so. I think she was kicked out of the office space. And Miss Nell is like, well, if I own 85% of a company, number one, I'm going to know what's going on inside of that company. And obviously she's alluding to the fact that she would not be kicked out of her own company. But the biggest aha moment came when Melody said, business that they have, you can get more contracting opportunities if your business is listed as a fully run female business. I think that that is definitely the situation that Marsau and Tisha have going on. You guys let me know what you think about that. Mel also had a point when she said that Marsau really doesn't want Tisha getting too close to her for fear that she may want to be a boss like Mel. And I instantly thought about the flashback that they showed way back when Tisha was going to an event with Mel, and Mel was introducing her to all of these people so that Tisha could kind of get a little bit more of a business acumen, if you will. And Marsau was so against it. And I always looked at that like, why is this man against his wife doing business or having a business or contributing to the business that he has? I don't remember him saying anything about a power couple, but being that they showed the flashback and he said something to Mel like, we're not going to be a power couple, I'm just like, why would you not want to build wealth for yourself? Why would you not want to build generational wealth for your family? And I'm also reminded of seasons past where Marsau was always talking about feeling beat down and, you know, just a lot on him because of the stuff that he has to do to provide for his family. It would be a lot easier, in my opinion, if you would let your wife in a little bit more to help you build your empire. But that's just me. I don't know what his train of thought in terms of that. Obviously, we know what his train of thought in terms of that is. I just can't wrap my mind around why he would not want Tisha to be an asset to him in that regard. The last scene is with Melody and Marsau, and I have to say, if I could just, to me, the meeting with Marsau, the biggest takeaway from that is thus far, because we are going to see the rest of it in next week's episode, how dare Marsau try to downplay or talk a little bit bad about the same business that he's in. And I'm talking about him being in the e-commerce space when he's trying to talk about Melody selling her t-shirts. Like, that just does not make any sense. We already know, as Maurice stated earlier in the episode, his brother is just an a-hole. And if I'm Melody, I'm not wasting any time or giving him any camera time with me whatsoever, because we already know what he's about. It's not even necessary, in my opinion, for her to check him, because he's like, it's just not. He's going to be who he is. It's nothing you say or do that's going to be able to change that. That's my take on this week's episode. I thought it was pretty good. You guys let me know what you thought. Drop some comments down below. Like this video. Subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.